Jets, I hear them say it now.
Jets, white, green, just green and white. Tell me, have you ever seen a team take flight? Super Bowl dreams are still in sight. All we gotta do is win tonight. White, green, just green and white. Tell me, have you ever seen a team take flight? Super Bowl dreams are still in sight. All we gotta do is win.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the YouTube channel, the Turn Up the Jets YouTube channel. The debut video is finally here. This has been in the works quite some time. I'm super excited. I am your host, Joe Scurto. I will be bringing you all of the New York Jets content that you need and overall NFL content. Breaking news, podcasts, predictions, game previews, everything. Just really everything. I'm really excited. I'm probably going to say the word excited a lot of times, but that's really how I feel to finally get on here and bring you content. You can follow me. Well, first off, subscribe to the channel. Much appreciated. Then you can follow me at Turn Up the Jets on Instagram, really my largest platform, and then at Turn Up the Jets on Twitter. I'm very active on both of those as well. And like I mentioned, podcasts as well. The Jet Fuel podcast will be coming. Ideally 2 episodes a week, Wednesday and Friday. This is just a welcome video. I'm also going to throw out those breaking news videos and going to try to be as active as I can on here. And I'm just going to get right into it. I'm not going to keep spewing up here. You see the title of the video, and it's obvious. This is the discussion that probably every person, every content creator is talking about, but it's the most important news around Florham Park with the New York Jets, and is who in the world is going to be the starting quarterback for this team. We all know 7-10 last year. Yes, they exceeded expectations, but not for Jets fans' minds. I mean, they were 7-4 in the driver's seat for really the top wild card spot in the AFC. We're talking the New York Jets, who were a 4-win team, as I'm knocking my mic over, a 4-win team a year ago, and then a year before that, a disastrous 2-win team. And then we're talking playoffs, the second year with Robert Saleh, but then it just went downhill, a disastrous 6-game losing streak. They didn't score the last 3 games, and it's all on the quarterback. They had probably an F grade at quarterback all season long, and they won 7 games. Once the season ended, I was just kind of aggravated how they even got to this point. But if you really think about it, they had just terrible quarterback performance all season long and still managed to win 7 games without the most important position in the entire sport. So that can kind of give some Jets fans optimism, but also they have to get this right. They have to get this quarterback situation right. And it's really between 2 quarterbacks. And that's all we've heard right now. They got to land at least one of these guys. It is Aaron Rodgers and it is Derek Carr. One of these 2, much different situations. And I kind of want to break it down in terms of not who do you want, Carr or Rodgers, right? That's not what this is. That's not the decision the Jets have to make. They have to make, do they want Carr and what comes with it, or do they want Rodgers and what comes with it? And I kind of want to break that down a little bit on today's video of really what I think the Jets should do, or just explaining both situations. And I think it's going to be a very fascinating couple weeks for the New York Jets. And we can kind of dive into Derek Carr first, since he has been the talk over the weekend. So Derek Carr had his visit with the New York Jets over the weekend, and supposedly it went terrific. His brother David said it went terrific. Him and Robert Saleh hit it off. And then obviously they talked to the offensive staff, mainly with Nathaniel Hackett as well. And it supposedly went really well. There's strong interest in both parties with both Carr and the New York Jets. And this is only Carr's second visit. His first visit was prior to when he was a free agent. It was when he was still technically a part of the Raiders organization. So this was his second, or I would really say first, free agency visit, and it went really well. But David on NFL Network said his brother is going to do extensive homework on who he really wants to play for, and that makes a lot of sense because that's the whole reason why he didn't want to get traded. He wanted all the power. I think still it was some, sour taste in his mouth with the Raiders organization and just how that abruptly ended. But despite the fact there, Derek Carr is a nice player. And I want to read you a stat to start off right away. I have the Raiders defensive ranks, and I know maybe some people are saying, oh, well, this isn't reflected his play. It absolutely does. It maybe not reflects of his stats, but it reflects on his record and why he only been in the postseason twice and why he hasn't won a postseason game yet in 9 years. His defensive ranks since 2014, right? Points per game. This is total of the entire NFL. Points per game last. Yards per game 29th. Yards per play 30th. Pass touchdowns 31st. Sacks last. And then you go to the Jets. I mean, first off, that is awful. That is so bad. They haven't even been a top 10, 15 rather. They haven't been a top 15 defense since 2002. Just throw it out there. The Raiders have not had a top 15 defense since 2002 when they lost the Super Bowl against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And here's the Jets defensive rankings last year. Points per game, 4th. Yards per game, 4th. Yards per play, 2nd. Pass touchdowns, 1st. Sacks, 7th. I mean, talk about night and day, right? Like, Derek Carr is finally going to have a competent defense. And all the Jets need out of their quarterback position is somebody who won't blatantly be the reason why they lost. Enough of the quarterback being the reason why they lost. Enough of that. The Jets fans, the Jets organization, everyone has dealt with that far too long to continue that. And I don't think Derek Carr is that perfect guy. You fit him in there. You got a good defense. You probably beef up the offensive line a little more, maybe even add another weapon. And I think Carr can really hold his own and win football games. And the Jets, they believe he can win a championship. I'm not going to say championship and Jets in the same sentence just because my feelings got hurt way too much. And I don't really think that's realistic at the moment. But realistic wise, it's definitely realistic that the Jets could be a playoff team. And it's definitely even realistic that the Jets could compete with Buffalo if they make the necessary moves along with Carr in the offseason. And that's all really depends. The Jets have to get it right. You know, that just goes back to that. The Jets absolutely have to get this right. And it starts with the quarterback. And I think Derek Carr would be a nice piece. And this is the pros of Derek Carr here. You get to choose, really, how much money you are giving him. You do. You get to make the contract, and maybe the cap hit this year would be more for Carr than in Rodgers, and I'll get to Rodgers in a moment, but you get to choose. You really have not really the power because Carr's going to, use teams as leverage, but you do, in a sense, have the power, how much money you want to give him. You have that control. And then you get to keep your draft picks. You don't get to trade any of your draft picks. You don't have to do that. And the Jets most likely would have to trade draft picks for Aaron. No, they would have to trade draft picks for Aaron Rodgers. And then, in hindsight, it will be less money. After it's all said and done, I mean, Rodgers is going to be owed about $60 million this year. And that necessarily doesn't affect the cap space, but still, they're still losing money. And that's money that you can really invest in other players. Invest in the offensive line, invest in another defender. Maybe I would say particularly a safety or a linebacker, a middle linebacker, and then the offensive line, another weapon. You have a few things that you can still fix. Quarterback away, sure, but they still need to kind of add into their roster to be a legitimate with the capital L, playoff contender. So that's obviously the pros rather of Derek Carr. And then you go to Rodgers. See, the pros is that Aaron Rodgers is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And if you're saying, who do you want, Rodgers or Carr? I'm picking Rodgers 11 times out of 10. Like literally, it's not even comparable. All things aside, though, then you have to factor in that Rodgers might only play 1 year. First off, Rodgers might not even want to come to the Jets in the first place. And that's what the Jets really have to consider as well. I get being interested in Rodgers. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity to really have a quarterback like that in New York, in Aaron Rodgers. It really is for an organization like the Jets. They're not really privileged with quarterbacks over the years. So I totally get that, and just seeing the new shiny toy and just running right to it. But there's way more to that. There's way more to just say Rodgers or Carr, because it's obviously Rodgers. And if you say Carr, you're lying to yourself. But it's a realistic chance you say Carr when you factor in everything, because it's not that simple. It's not just Carr or Rodgers. Rodgers, does he want to come to New York? How many years is he going to play? He's a ton of money. He's probably going to cost the 13th overall pick in the NFL draft this year, in which the Jets could probably get a highly touted offensive lineman, which they desperately need, because the Jets offensive line basically overperformed until the end of the year when everyone just got injured and they were just disastrous over that 6-game losing streak. The quarterback play was bad, but the offensive line play was arguably just as worse. So that would be a valuable pick for the Jets at 13. And there's a lot of good offensive linemen, which I'll definitely get into in multiple videos of guys that I like at that pick. But despite the fact that the Jets would have to give up a lot for Aaron Rodgers and probably would be a 1-year rental. And I don't think we're going to get to the point that you got to pounce on Carr because, Rodgers is not going to make a decision. I think Carr's decision is going to take a lot longer than we think. I'm going to give it like 2 weeks. I would say at least 2 weeks. And Rodgers coming out the darkness, Darth Vader Rodgers, I think he's going to decide what he's going to do within that span as well, because he already made it public. Well, he did last year at least too. He's not going to drag it out, even though it feels like it's been dragged out for the last 10 years. It seems of him just doing his antics, but he's going to know, and he's going to just do it for the benefit of the doubt and the respect that he has for the Packers organization. So they can be like, okay, we're moving on. Jordan Love is our guy. That's that. So I do think the decisions will almost mesh up. Maybe. I think that would be ideal for the Jets. But the thing is, they obviously want Rodgers to know what he's doing soon, because if he doesn't want to get traded, you got to throw all your eggs into the basket for Derek Carr. There's no doubt about it. But vice versa, then you have a decision to make. If Rodgers wants to come to the Jets and Derek Carr is still interested in the Jets, do you want to lose Carr saying, hey, they obviously want Rodgers more than me. I'm going to sign with the Saints, or I'm going to go sign with the Panthers. To be honest, Frank Reich's kind of putting up a good staff over there. A lot of veterans. I think he's doing it right over there. I mean, who knows where that's going to go. But again, he probably makes the playoffs no matter what team he goes into that division. It's that bad. That's the worst division in the NFL. The quarterbacks are just, it's insane. If you look at the list of quarterbacks in the NFC South, it's not very good. So Carr would most likely have the best shot of making the playoffs. If we're talking beyond that, no shot. They're probably like an 8-9, 9-8 team again, like we saw this year with Brady and the Bucs. It's probably going to be the same thing wherever Carr goes, whether it's New Orleans, Carolina, even Atlanta, Tampa Bay. I haven't really heard Atlanta, Tampa Bay much, but more so Carolina or New Orleans. And New Orleans, obviously, he actually went and visited there. So that's the decision the Jets got to make here. And to me, if I were Joe Douglas, I would sign Derek Carr. And I want Rodgers more, and it's weird. I want Rodgers more, but Carr is the best option, I think, in terms of stability, longevity, risk, I guess. It is a risk virtually to trade for Aaron Rodgers, because you trade your 13th overall. What if you underperform or anything? What if he gets hurt or that 1 year and he's done and that's it? That was it. You just lost a pick for nothing. And I'm all for trading picks. You got to trade picks to get talent. I get that. But the situation is he's 39. He's not 35. Carr's 32. Derek Carr's probably going to have at least 5 more, I would say, good years in him. And maybe beyond that, I have no idea. But I would at least give him minimum 4 to 5 good years that he has left in the tank that he could provide for the Jets. And that's the main thing. I just think right now it looks like both sides are feeling good. And my decision has kind of changed drastically over the last week. I was all Rodgers, and I was basically, on to the point that if they signed Carr, I wouldn't be upset, but I want Rodgers. Now it's, if they sign Carr, I'll be very happy. And if they trade for Rodgers, I'll be very happy. I think either way, a Jets fan has to be happy. You could have your preference. I think I'm leaning towards the Derek Carr train, not because he's a better quarterback. No shot, right? It's because the situation matches up better, and I think it favors the Jets. And I just think, they're going to need a quarterback after Rodgers retires, and then you're back to square one. Keep your picks. Save the money. Add some free agents. Build around Carr. Continue that great defense that he's never experienced in his NFL career. And see where it takes you. I mean, he's not going to just single-handedly lose you the game. Yeah, of course, he's going to have bad games. And am I a little worried about the cold? A little. I'm not going to just panic over it. I think it's a little, 30. It was like 37 degrees or lower. I don't know who really comes up with the stats. I think it was 37. It was something just weird. Who is making the stat of 37 degrees and lower? And Derek Carr, when he wears long sleeves, he's not very good. I mean, I don't care about that. I really don't. So for me, that's where I'm leaning towards. Both options are good, though. But I will say, and I will basically end the rant on this, the Jets better get one of them. I mean, total failure or I would say total disappointment if the Jets miss out on both. It's total failure if they miss out on both and get Ryan Tannehill. I mean, that would be an atrocity. Literally, that would be terrible. So they need to land one of these two. There's no excuse not to. They have the money. They can really just throw all their eggs in one basket, as I mentioned before, with either Carr or Rodgers. And they have to. They're desperate. This is a good roster. When's the last time the Jets have had a good, long-lasting roster? Of course, 2015, but the average player was 30 plus, the average age. This is a young, good team. It's only going to get younger, and it's only going to get more talented because I think Joe Douglas is a fantastic GM in terms of drafting. 2020, a little overrated. 2021, yeah. But 2022, I mean, he just bursted out of the scene. He drafted 3 All-Pros. Let's see what he could do again. But if they get this wrong and the Jets miss the playoffs, I don't think he'll be drafting in 2024. I really don't. I don't think he should, even though, yes, he's done a good job, for what it's worth and for what he had. But they have to start seeing some results here because you can't be going through every single year with the quarterback position being that question mark. And now the Jets are built to win now. They are that quarterback team away from actually being a good football team. They were a good football team for 11 games last season. They beat the Bills with Zach Wilson. I mean, they beat Aaron Rodgers with Zach Wilson. Like they won 5 games with Zach Wilson. So, and then they won one with Joe Flacco that had like a 0.0001% chance. And then obviously that one game with the Chicago Bears, with Mike White. You put Derek Carr in, they for sure made the playoffs this year. They make the playoffs this year if they have Derek Carr. And you could say, oh, well, Derek Carr didn't have Devontae. Well, Derek Carr had Devontae Adams and Darren Waller and Josh Jacobs and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, he also had the 32nd ranked defense. There was a reason why they blew four 17-point leads. Yeah, poor coaching, but also very bad defense. Very bad. So, I mean, either way, like I said, I think I would be happy with either or, but I'm ending with this. I think I'd go with Carr. Rodgers is kind of too much of a loose cannon. Would I be happy if they traded for him? Sure. And then I'll just get back to you in a year to see what in the world he's doing. But that's kind of how I feel in the whole situation. And it's way more than who do I want, Carr or Rodgers. It's way more complex than that. And that's kind of a shout out to Jets Twitter because I mean, obviously you want Aaron Rodgers, but Derek Carr, he seems to make a little more sense, but I mean, that's how I feel. That's my rant. That is my rant today. That's my first video. Hope to see you more. Again, subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at TurnUpTheJets. I look forward to posting plenty of content here on YouTube. Thanks, guys.
Jets, I hear them say it now.
Jets, white, green, just green and white. Tell me, have you ever seen a team take flight? Super Bowl dreams are still in sight. All we gotta do is win tonight. White.